Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask on, like you mentioned dishes and stuff like that, like that's a not a sanitary sewer line that's out there, it's for water, it's going into the lake, so pouring food and dish soap and things down, that's probably not the best solution. Is there an opportunity, there's folks that live in Nelson, is there opportunity to do dishes and stuff at someone's house as opposed to into our, like I said, that's discharging right into the lake.
Goes right into the lake.
Yeah.
If we found
we
a
didn't
place
know,
to
we weren't
dump
aware
it,
of that.
yeah,
Of
if we
that.
found
any
a-
of our-
We have made some connections in the community.
Yeah, if you
we
guys
could
could,
take stuff like our water down to the Salvation Army and dump it there and stuff like that too. Like,
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
that
just,
way we're not using.
it's just,
it.
yeah, it's not the intent to use those, any of it, you see the little fish painted on those around the street, any of those drain.
Oh.
Kevin, just out of curiosity, I own a sailboat down at the
Yeah.
Prestige. All my dishwater goes out into the lake.
Yeah, that's
As
not
do
a
all
good
sailboats.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, all sailboats do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
All boats do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we would
Again,
hope
with-
that people wouldn't do that. So that's we'd make a similar request to you that you not do that.
yeah.
So that would apply to
I think
Okay,
we
well,
did hear
we'll-
from
we'll
people.
try
That's a
and
negative
then
about boats.
take
Yeah.
a look
People
at
say
our
they dump
alternatives
sewage into the
with
lake
that.
and things
This
like that.
is one thing we were
Mhm.
hoping to hear more about. We're sure that they know this space better than we do. We don't want to be accidentally doing something
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah,
I mean, keeping the space tidy and neat and clean is important.
like water,
And
whatever. is no
Mhm.
problem.
So, like as an example,
We're
the
using the faucet by the wall for drinking water.
uh,
There's a faucet.
there's a
by-
faucet on the back side of the wall there.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that's a galvanized pipe going in that. I'm sure it's okay, but I'm pretty sure it's galvanized. If you look at it coming up out of the ground, and that
The trees for tarps.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd
We don't
prefer you
want
not
to
to
do that.
be
That,
damaging the
that
trees.
part is understandable, but what can we do to work around that?
Yeah, so that we can set up some sort of tarps or awnings, because at the moment we've not been donated any vendor awnings, which would be more ideal.
Mhm.
But until that sort of happens, we'd like to be able to protect all of that stuff from the weather and from the rain. And so.
Well, you have tents there. Can't you keep it in your tents?
Well, not all that food stuff, and then of course you don't want people going into other people's tents rooting around for the food, right?
Yeah.
And then the community is just coming in and putting stuff down on the table and that sort of thing, so we're trying to figure out, I mean, ideally I'd like to have a nice big awning thing stand up, but in the moment, because we're sort of saying, okay, the rain's not gonna wait for us to get our donation act together here, we do have the tarps. Can we figure out something where we're not tying up to trees, where but we're able to at least create that type of shelter while the rain's happening, and we're gonna try and fancy it up a little bit with some vendor.
Well, there's a couple of things come to mind about it would appear to me, although I haven't looked around too much this morning, but it would appear to me that you probably have adequate space in some of your tents. In fact, there's one sitting there that's actually empty right now, so you probably could use those. One other thing I'd like to mention to you, we'd really like the tents off the grass because they'll kill the grass.
Mm.
So if you could put them on the cement, that would be.
Okay.
Is that
Yes,
okay?
I
Well, I
can
don't
see
know,
where
but-
you're coming from.
Yeah, so now, but with
so
the
that's
pathway there, with being on the cement, like, because we don't wanna be obstructing
Right.
any of the
Well, then
pathway, so
maybe you
that's
need,
been the.
Yeah, maybe less tents then, in that case.
Well, we can't, this is a leaderless horizontal movement, and that's
We don't-
open
we
to
don't like
all,
that.
so I
Faceless,
don't know
nameless.
but I mean, trying to keep it on, not, like, and moving it and putting it on the sidewalk, so the grass isn't affected, and that sort of thing is something we
There's a
can
spot in the plaza
definitely
there,
talk
like,
about.
it's a cement, it's, we put the chalk on it.
Well, of course, I think it's important, when you request from us, right, that
Mhm.
you understand our needs as well. So our needs would be, as an example, not to kill the grass or the trees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our needs would also be
yes.
that you'd leave access to the building. So,
Yes.
from a common sense perspective, if it was my decision, I'd be saying, okay, how many tents could I fit in this space without obstructing? If you're thinking of a free-for-all of continuing to put tents down there, I don't think that's reasonable to do that, because that'll obstruct access to the building. So
Mhm.
if you say, okay, this space will hold 4 tents, well then, fair enough. And that's something we could talk about. We could have a look and see how many tents that would hold.
Mhm.
And we could say, okay, 4 tents is the max, fair enough, then let's deal with 4 tents then. And then we can build our plan around that piece if you wish. So I'm just throwing,
Yeah.
some of our needs, because you're asking us about
Mhm.
placards and so on.
I guess with the ideas of trying to define numbers or something like that, because I think that we could sort of figure out for ourselves what an amount is, as long as we're saying, okay, well, we wanna, you know, get off the grass here so that there's not going to die and that sort of thing, but, you know, so rather than putting it to a number, we would obviously could only go so far to, while at the same time being as respectful as we can to the space and that sort of thing. So, yeah, so I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed into like some sort of number. Some tents are big. Mine's the great big 18-foot tent out there, and some are one person. So, you know, but just about
Well,
sort of
right.
defining more the
Define the area.
space.
Define
that
the
would be
area.
better air,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then you see, an overnight on a grass doesn't kill the grass, but if that person is coming in and they're occupying for the week, then it's much more appropriate then for to be on the cement type of thing.
And the thing is, we can't, like, our maintenance crew can't go in there now, like the people that maintain that yard,
Mhm.
they're
Would-
not,
yeah.
so that's.
That's why I
Adam
was
was-
offering.
Accommodate that, getting things ready for the winter close
It's
down.
definitely a valid concern.
We're all equal
Yeah.
here, so
We're not gonna win any friends
Just
or
trying to
make anyone
work
happy if we take down a
for
tent.
everyone's
Sees what
needs
tents were,
instead of
like,
just
oh,
our
thanks, I
own.
like City Hall. No,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
So, and the other thing
Mhm.
that's a little sensitive that you need to be aware of is November 10th.
The cenotaph, yeah.
Yeah.
11th, yes.
Yeah.
November
Yeah.
11th.
Remembrance Day, and
Yeah.
and that
So
will
we would expect the
There's a
site cleaned up.
huge
for that.
crowd that comes to that.
Yeah.
so-
To the-
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the big complaints we're getting right now from the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get a lot of phone calls at home, but I've had quite a few about, they're worried about the cenotaph, because at least, I don't know what it's like this morning, but the first few days, the cenotaph was covered with placards.
Sounds, yeah.
And I talked to Herb Couch and asked him to be very respectful of that site, because
It
it's
is
near
And
dear
it's,
a memorial,
and it's
yes.
clean and clear
Yeah.
and will
Yeah.
remain so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Comply with that right away. Like, we definitely do not want you disrupting your Remembrance Day
Yeah.
things whatsoever. Like, you can take responsibility for that. We need the
Yeah.
space for the November thing, for Remembrance Day.
In fact, in some ways, you know, what's so pointed is with the Occupy Nelson is actually really attached to the Remembrance Day ceremony and what it means. Because what we're doing, what we're trying to facilitate and try to create for ourselves and everyone in the community is precisely what they fought for and died for.
We have
You
the
know?
like
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
relatives, so they don't want it. They're not going to want to see us that day. I think that's
No, but I understand,
Yeah.
but I'm just trying to just to relate
Yeah.
where
Oh,
we're
no,
coming
I'm-
from and how
You're right,
so we
yeah.
feel. So when it comes to those sorts of things around the respect of the cenotaph and everything, and the ceremony that would be happening there, we're very supportive
Yeah.
of that
Mhm.
and grateful, very, very grateful, because we're doing right now, you know, in this, you know, chaotic type of time, exactly what they've helped
really-
laid the path for, so.
It'd be really important to communicate that to the veterans, and that can be easily done through the Legion, because their perception may not be the same.
Yeah.
Their
Mhm.
perception of what you're doing.
Yeah.
They should
You
be
see.
worried about that.
Yeah.
I just have a question. I have a concern, and I also have a question, and it's about getting what this is about. I'm looking to understand more. First of all, I'm a little concerned about people sleeping in the cold. I am. I know that we have emergency facilities available, and I imagine they're bursting at the seams as they usually are. But I do have a concern about that, especially we don't allow open fires. There's a bylaw in the city of Nelson. So as the
Came out and talked to us about that.
yeah, and as the weather starts to change, I do have a concern about the health and safety of people that are sleeping outside. So how are you addressing that?
Well, on the wish
Otherwise,
list,
the airport.
on the wish list is, the propane heaters that you might find at a patio, and, you know, they do
Yeah.
sell them. So we're hoping that something like that might come forward, so there could be some warmth. There are some people who are overnight occupiers right now, whether it's happening here or somewhere else, are still sleeping out overnight.
Mhm.
So are you saying that nobody's sleeping overnight here?
Oh, no,
Yes,
people are
there are
sleeping
people
overnight.
sleeping
Some
overnight.
people
I
are
was there
always
myself for the
without
last 48 hours.
unconventional housing.
I've been here
They're-
since
okay.
noon.
Okay,
You know.
with mention stepping stones, though, I do think it is important to mention that while we are certainly proud to count the homeless people in our numbers, not all the campers are homeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
a large number of people who are here, like, just because they want.
And then the movement is
Yes.
assisting people that may not have homes to.
To try to
To
find
connect.
better connections to be able to get homes.
Everybody who is here because of the Occupy thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people, like, you know,
Yeah.
the Stepping stones is great. A lot of
and
people
can I,
say very good
and
things
and
about stepping
here's,
stones, so
here's,
you're aware of it.
yeah, here.